This is Victor Martinez. And why have you not stopped by the MD Superstore? Come on now. I'm there all the time. You should be there too.
All right, Bob Chick here at the Chicago Pro, wrapping things up. We just concluded the competition. I'm here with expert Isaac Hines and, of course, David Baye. We are just finishing up here. Great competition here, Isaac. The ladies, I think, were very good, very deep. Tim Gardner, I know, was impressed. 106 pros here. How did the ladies come up?
Well, it's been a long day. The prejudging went super fast, but it seemed like the night show, we had so many competitors to get through. But the pros went up first, so I think they appreciated that. Women's bodybuilding, it's one of the few shows that we have women's bodybuilding. But as we had previewed last night, Monique Jones delivered.
Mojo.
I think her overall size and just symmetry with her is, nobody can match up to it. She wasn't the hardest girl on stage, but when she turns around, like, she just got lats hanging, and she carried it well. I think she's a little bit sharper in prejudging than she was at the night show, and I know they were doing some rejudging. I don't know if that changed anything. I didn't see the actual scores, but I thought that it was hers, light years ahead of everybody else.
Well, Tina Chandler, another Olympian in the mix, and I think people are a little bit surprised, but she ends up in third, I think it was?
Yeah, she was in third. She was harder in her conditioning. And I thought she lost a little bit when she turned around from the back, and then her abs. I ran into George Farah, which who knows if George really trains her or not. He says he does, but I said, I thought she lost a little bit in abs. He's like, I tell her, bro, she's got to train her abs. But I didn't think she had any abs, and then when she turned around from the back, I think that's where she lost it. Conditioning-wise, I think she was spot on. And then in second was Juanita, which I apologize. I know nothing about her. I believe it was her pro debut.
Well, a testament to the judges, though, because I don't think she's a name that was really on anybody's radar, but Gary Udit and crew down on the judging panel calling it the way they saw it, so a relative unknown taking that second spot, so hats off to them.
Yeah, I thought the women's bodybuilding was really, really good. There's nobody, that embarrassed themselves. Even some people that, coming into the show, you probably thought had no chance, and they're in the top 10. So overall, I thought the women's bodybuilding was really, really good. It was, it wasn't freakishly like we saw in Toronto. Like, it was pretty aesthetic, and overall, I thought it was pretty good.
All right, moving into the women's physique, Isaac. How'd you see that one?
Women's physique, I was surprised because it didn't go at all how we had broke it down last night. And I need to refresh myself. Who won? Jamie Pinder, I believe?
Jamie Pinder, and again, another name that, again, not on a lot of people's radar, but again, I got to give it up to the judges because, in this world of conspiracy theories, of course, that everything's preset and in motion, which, of course, we know is completely ridiculous. Here's Jamie Pinder that takes the win here, and a good physique to boot.
Yeah, I don't know anything about her, and I apologize. She says she's from Connecticut, Mr. Wisconsin bodybuilding.
We'll just find out about that, won't we?
Yeah, again, it was a super, super deep lineup. You had the likes of Mindy O'Brien, Kim Tilden, some of these girls, Jill Rudison, who has points. She wasn't even in the top 10, so it just was a testament to how deep it was. Valerie Ganji finished in second. That was
two former bodybuilders, Valerie Ganji and, of course, Nicole Ball ends up in third. So two bodybuilders who have actually made the transition and coming down. Congratulations to them. But overall, impressive lineup. A top 5-6 that were very good.
Yeah, it was very good. It was kind of like you had a lot of body parts that, like Nicole Ball, she downsized tremendously, but still has big shoulders. I thought some of the other girls that were in the mix prior to the show, I probably would have liked to see them, but it was a good mix, and again, it's like show favorites doesn't really matter when it comes down to it. We can talk about it all day long, but our show favorites, in this class had nothing to do with.
Sure. Well, I didn't see the results either past third place. I'm guessing Mindy O'Brien was probably in fourth, but she did take the Best Poser Award. I know she was very pleased with that and well-deserving. Moving on, no surprise here in the women's figure. Ann Tony bringing it home again, and consistent 3 wins in a row.
Yeah, Ann looked tremendous. You can tell she had that swagger to her when she took the stage. So her confidence is, I don't know if she's going to do another show before Olympia.
I think she's done until the Olympia now.
Yeah, I was going to say, not that she needs to at this point. Like, she's got some momentum going in there. So she shows up like she was here. I thought she was, spot on. So the surprises came in some of the other events. Like we suspected Natalie Waples would have been there. She was in that call-up, but she was out of the top 3. We had Bernita, and
Bernita Stuckey.
Yeah, a name we've seen before, but not in that top spots.
Tiffany Archer, another name that, again, we thought we would have been out of the mix.
Yes, and I feel like I'm standing on the sun in basking in stupidity right now, not knowing any of these names. Linda Andrew, which again, I know nothing about Linda Andrew, but first girl out on stage, and she's in that first call, winded up in second place. And she looked great. I mean, there was a lot of women that looked really good. Chikandi, Vicky Counts, like there's a lot of women that shape, like if you look at the pictures online, I think people will see like there's tremendous shape and symmetry with a lot of these competitors. So a lot of the women look really, really good.
All right, Isaac, thanks for the women's breakdown, sir. We're going to move into our men's division now, of course. Yes, go get some sleep, sir. David Baye, our resident expert here, covering the guy side of things. 212, very good competition here. Tricky Jackson pulling one out, not only the best routine, but the best physique.
Yeah, we talked about it last night, and I feel a little bit bad. I interviewed Tricky, actually, but, I had said, hey, look for him to make it into the top 5. He didn't do so well in Toronto, but he came back phenomenal, pulled out a win over, Guy Cisternino, who I thought was kind of going to be the favorite after we found out Craig Richardson didn't make weight. So, Guy, of course, took second place, looked phenomenal. I think everybody who saw the pictures will agree when they turned around and Guy hit that rear double bicep. I mean, it was just crazy. But overall, the judges like Tricky's look a little bit better, and I think it was a deserving win. I don't think you're going to get anybody who's too upset about seeing Tricky Jackson in first place.
And another deep lineup in the 212s. Bola Ojak's in the mix there. Derek Farnsworth, the Freak, also in that top mix.
Yeah, when I was doing the play-by-play, I said, hey, Derek Farnsworth looks, he's a small guy, and we all know that. We can talk about that forever. But he came out, he was on the money, everything was shredded. And for being as, on a small of a frame as he is, he still comes out full, And so you think of smaller guys sometimes, they're going to be stringy and stuff like that. But for being a little guy, he came out really full. It was nice to see him in the first call-out and really hold his own against some guys that he was giving up a lot of size to.
All right, well, Tricky Jackson back to the 212 Olympia. I know he's very excited about that, and deservingly so. Moving our attention to the men's open. Now, this was a competition that was coming in. It was pretty much anybody's up for grabs, but a couple of big names throwing their names in the hat. Ruli Winkler coming on top here. I don't think that really surprised a lot of people, but I tell you what, he's packed on a little bit of size, and it looks like he might be a top 10 contender at the Olympia.
Yeah, there wasn't any surprises. We talked about, hey, Lionel and Raleigh are probably going to be at the top if they come in shape, which they both did. Hard to kind of comprehend it sometimes, but I agree with you 100%. It looks like Raleigh did actually put on a little bit of size. I think both him and Lionel could probably be a little bit sharper yet before the Olympia. They don't have that crispness that you're going to see from a Phil Heath or a Dexter Jackson or a Kai Green, but definitely with the amount of time they have between now and the Olympia to make some changes and some adjustments, I think that Raleigh Winkler, if he can increase his conditioning by just a little bit, he could be a top 6 guy at the Olympia.
Well, Lionel Bayecki, again, a name that we also previewed that looked like he might have been a contender, was a contender, but still just can't wring out that last little bit of water. Looks like he might have had the best physique on stage, but certainly couldn't get the conditioning. What does he have to do, David, to kind of nail this? He's got to get sharper if he's going to move up at the Olympia level.
I think he's got enough size to spare where he can just focus on conditioning. I know some guys think, hey, when I start getting, really, really lean, they worry about flattening out, and I don't think that's really much of an issue for Lionel. So I think he's just got to have 100% focus on conditioning. When he turned around, his lower back was pretty cut. He had some feathering in his lower back, but when he hit that rear double bicep, his lats and his delts and stuff like that from behind, still, I don't know if you want to call it, a thin layer of water or just thick skin or whatever terms you want to use to describe it, but definitely wasn't as sharp as he's going to need to be to be pushing top 5 or 6 at the Olympia.
Well, still good enough for second place here. Big Bill Wilmore redeems himself from Toronto. He took a lot of flack on that competition, coming in as the previous champion, the defending champ as it would be, and then out of the mix. Not a show he was targeting, though. This show he was targeting and comes up in third place.
Yeah, Bill threw his hat into Toronto late, so he's usually one of those guys you can count on for him being consistent. Was a little bit off at Toronto, kind of, raised some eyebrows, but he came back here tonight and, and showed us what we're all used to seeing from Bill Wilmore with great conditioning, crisp. He was big, really imposing, most muscular shots, so, it was good to see Bill back to where we're used to seeing him.
All right, well, Obi had finally taken the stage here in 2013. Great from the front, not so much from the back.
Yeah, and we saw that with a couple of guys tonight. You know, I know Jojo Nefturo was one of those guys where, you know, he looked really good from the front and he turned around. It was kind of the same thing with Essa. And I mean, with Essa, it was, you know, I don't want to, you know, be over dramatic and say night and day, but it really was. I mean, he's one of those guys where if he would have turned around and it would have looked the same from, you know, how he looked from the front, you know, he'd have been pushing for that first spot against Raleigh, excuse me, but it just wasn't there. It literally looked like two different guys from the front and the back.
Well, speaking of looking different, we see a rookie taking 5th place here, looking much different than he did when he got his pro card. Talk about it.
Yeah, you know, Justin was really impressive when he won the heavyweights at Nationals last year. And, you know, he's been one of those younger guys that everybody's kind of raving about. And, you know, the big thing when guys turn pro is the question is, are they going to be able to repeat the conditioning on a professional stage that they had when they won their pro card? And, you know, we see some guys who can never quite do that. And then you see some guys who make the improvements and move forward. And Justin was one of those guys. You know, he said he put on, you know, maybe 10, 12 pounds or so. I think there were some rumors flying around that he threw it out that he put on 20 pounds. And Justin's like, he never said that. But he put on at least 10 good pounds of muscle and was actually more conditioned today than we saw him at Nationals, but with that same symmetry. So he had a really small waist, really broad shoulders. In my opinion, from the back, Justin was the best bodybuilder in the opens division, or in the open division today, and that's where he really held his own. You know, they turn around, you know, not to get too on top of striated glutes and stuff, but yeah, you have to take notice that was there. His hamstrings were really dialed in, you know, and he had the width to hang with the other guys. You know, the big thing I think Justin needs to improve on is maybe some just all-around mass. You know, when they hit their side chest and their side tricep shots, that front to back thickness in the quads and the hamstrings that Raleigh and Lionel and Essa had. Justin's still lacking a little bit, but only being 25 years old, you know, if he keeps on the path that he's on, you know, that's going to come with time.
All right, Tricky Jackson and Rulie Winkler punching their tickets to the Olympia coming up. Purported to be one of the best Olympias coming up, one of the most competitive and deepest lineups. So best of luck to both those guys getting in the mix there. And that wraps things up here in Chicago. The MD train continues on. The USA just weeks away, so we'll see brand new IFBB pros crowned. Of course, we'll have all the coverage right here on MD. And then, of course, only 2 pro shows left. 3 if you count Finland. And that, of course, is the Dallas Europa and another Tim Gardner show, the Tampa Pro. So we're going to be seeing a whole lot of these guys jumping in there. Evan Sonapani, we have yet to see him. He's going to be coming in pretty soon in Tampa. So stay tuned, folks. Right here at MD, we've got all the coverage, and we'll be covering everything from A to Z. For David Baye, I'm Bob Chick, wrapping things up here in Chicago.